Today I'm bringing you a surprise. You probably haven't heard much teaching on understanding God's hand, and it's very, very important. I'm doing a series at the moment called Our Covenant Rights. Now, if you've had stuff stolen from you or parts in your life destroyed, your health or relationships destroyed, behind that is the force known as the devil. His objective is to kill, steal and destroy. John 10:10. 1 Peter 5 and verse 8, the devil goes around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He is an outlaw and he will steal from us whenever he can, using generational curses of poverty, sickness and lack as legal rights. In Mark 5, the woman with the issue of blood was ill for 12 years. She spent all her money on doctors. Eventually, she decided to go to Jesus and touched the hem of his garment, as you know, from Mark 5:25 to 34. She activated the law of faith and received her healing. She was made whole of her plague, but she spent all her money. Now, if somebody harms you, it's okay to be healed and okay to be proclaimed innocent. You were doing nothing wrong, but you don't just want that. You want payback. You want complete payback. And this is what we're looking at now. And to get payback, we must understand how God's hand moves. Now, we need a working revelation of the hand of the Lord. The Apostle Paul was a Pharisee. He studied the Old Testament scriptures. He knew what had happened in the church, not only in the church, but in the people of Israel. He knew what happened with Moses and so on. And so because he had a working knowledge of the hand of the Lord in his own church and also in the history of the nation of Israel, he knew about the importance of the hand of the Lord. It's mentioned in his home church at Antioch that the hand of the Lord was with them and a great number believed. Acts 11:21. That was Paul's church. Now later, on a visit to Cyprus, in the Acts of the Apostles again, Acts chapter 13, it's recorded that God's hand was upon the sorcerer Bar Jesus, and he was struck blind for a season. So the Apostle Paul knew about these things in his experience in ministry, in his church and in his visits to missionary places. And he knew about the hand of the Lord. It can bring blessing upon God's people or judgment on the enemy. Now, what did Paul know from his Old Testament studies? Well, we have to look back into Exodus. In Exodus 3 and verse 20 to 22, we see that at the burning bush, God told Moses that he would stretch out his hand and bring the people out with great wealth from Egypt. Have a look at that in Exodus chapter 3, verses 20 to 22. Not only that, but God also told Moses to explain this to the people. In Exodus 6 and verse 6, therefore say to the children of Israel, I am the Lord. I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will rid you of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments, and I will take you to be my people. So there, God's hand, God's arm is stretched out, and it is because of that. So when explaining to people about how did the Exodus happen, then God instructed Moses to say that it would be by the strength of the hand of the Lord. Exodus 13, another reference a bit later on, Exodus 13 and verse 3. Moses said to the people, earnestly remember this day in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage, by the strength of the hand of the Lord that brought you out from this place. No leavened bread should be eaten. Now that's another thing, but it was the strength of the hand of the Lord. God has got a very strong hand. And then in Exodus 13 and verse 9, let's have a look at that. It shall be a sign for you this day and a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand has the Lord brought you forth out of Egypt. So there again, a mention. God's underlining this. How did you come out of Egypt? How did you get out and get repayment and leave Egypt with great wealth? How did you do it? Because I stretched forth my hand. And then let's have a look at verse 14. And if your son asks you, what does this mean? This is about the celebration of the Exodus or the Passover. You shall say to him, by the strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, from the house of bondage and from bondmen. So they were to explain that they came out of Egypt because of one thing, the strength of the hand of the Lord. Now, in our situation, when we're looking for compensation, when we're looking for restitution and the recovery of our covenant rights, this is what this series is about, restoration of our covenant rights, we need to understand the hand of the Lord. Can we move the hand of the Lord? And if so, how can we move it? Well, I hope you're going to stay with me, because that's what I'm going to be looking at in our next video. How can we move the hand of the Lord on our behalf? Interested? I'll see you the next time.